welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're doing exactly what the title of the video says we're going to do, because I would never dare lie to my beautiful viewers and subscribers. I'm going to be answering your football questions part 2. A couple days back on my community tab, I asked you guys for any questions you might have for me in regards to the beautiful game. And like always, man, say it with me, you guys did not let me down. So many responses to that community tab post, so many great questions that I cannot wait to get into, man. This video is going to be really, really fun. I'm super pumped to film this. So if you guys want to see a part 3 to this series, let me know in the comment section down below. I did part 1 like in January or maybe February, and I don't know why it took me so long to make a part 2, because I love making that video and I love making the hot takes videos. I love making videos like this where you guys can interact and engage and obviously get your opinions in and ask me questions and stuff like that. So I don't know why it took me so long, but again, if you guys want to see a part 3, I promise you it will not take me 6 months to make a part 3. So if you guys want to see it, like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. This video is going to be a little bit longer, so if you like longer videos, then you're in for a treat. If you don't like longer videos, then that's a bummer for you. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. But yeah, anyway, let's get into this video because I'm so hyped to answer some of these questions because they're actually really, really good. So let's get into it right now. The first question we have, was the Ansu Fati hype as big as Lamin's, or is Lamine clear? I think the Ansu Fati hype and the Lamine Yamal hype are very similar, but I think Lamine is clear for this reason. I don't think Ansu Fati ever reached the heights that Lamine Yamal has reached at this point in his career. I don't think he ever did. I don't think Lamine Yamal is just a better player. That's why he has more hype. I mean, Lamine Yamal, what he's done at this point in his career, he's on pace to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest youngster that football's ever seen. You know how crazy that is, bro? You know how many great youngsters have been a part of this game, and Lamine Yamal is on pace to be the greatest of them all? Lamine Yamal nearly won player of the tournament at the Euros at 16 years old. We say that shit in passing, but I don't really think we comprehend what I just said. Like, really think about that. A 16-year-old nearly won player of the tournament at one of the most prestigious tournaments in the history of football. And if he would have won it, none of us would have been upset. That's how good he was. He should have won it, in my opinion. Was amazing in every single knockout round, was amazing in the group stages. I mean, the guy was absurd. Ansu Fati never got close to doing something like that. Lamine Yamal was the best Barca player at 16 years old all of last season. Ansu Fati never did that. Lamine Yamal has been Barca's best player this season, only 4 games in, I know, but he's been Barca's best player, and Barca are playing really, really well. Ansu Fati never got to those heights, in my opinion. He never played as well as Lamine Yamal has played thus far. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is because the teams that they both debuted on are very different. Lamine Yamal made his debut on a Barca team that didn't have that much talent compared to Ansu Fati. Piqué, Rakitic, all these great Barca legends were still part of that team. So naturally, he wasn't going to get as much as a shine because you're sharing a pitch with Messi. And when you're sharing a pitch with Messi, you're never going to be bigger than Messi. If Lamine Yamal was playing right now, but Messi was still on the team, and it was 2018, 2019 Messi, that version of him, Lamine Yamal would not get nearly as much hype, because everybody would be looking at Messi because it's fucking Messi. So again, I think there's 2 things. Number 1, Ansu Fati was never the player that Lamine Yamal is right now. And number 2, the teams that they both made their debut on, Lamine Yamal had a lot more chance to maybe shine and maybe stand out than Ansu Fati did, because Lamine Yamal, while the Barca team he made his debut on was good, it's nothing compared to the team that Ansu Fati debuted on when he first bursted onto the scene. So again, that's my opinion. I don't want to make it sound like I'm disrespecting Ansu Fati, by the way, because I still believe in him, and I thought that, you know, when he bursted onto the scene, I was in awe of this kid. I'll say it multiple times. I've said it multiple times, but I'll say it again. When he made his debut and he was like playing for Barca, I was like, oh my god, this kid's next up. When he scored that goal against Inter, wearing the yellow kits in the UCL, I was like, this guy's insane. When he assisted Messi against Betis and scored that goal in that game, I was like, this guy he's gonna be the successor to Messi. So again, the Ansu Fati hype was real. I remember the Ansu Fati hype. I'm old enough to remember that. But it wasn't as big, in my opinion, as Lamine Yamal. The next question we have, if you had the option to sign one of Nico Williams, Rafa or Jamal Musiala, who are you signing for that left-hand side? So you're asking me, if I was Barca's sporting director, looking at these profiles, who would I think best suits Barca's needs for that left-hand side, for that left wing spot? So you're not asking me who the better player is, because if you're asking me who the better player is, I'll give you that answer as well. To me, if I have to rank these 3, Musiala 1, Leao 2, Nico Williams 3. So again, that's just my order of who the better player is. But when it comes to that left-hand side, I would pick Rafa. It's a no-brainer in my opinion. Any Barca fan who says any answer different to that for that left-hand side is tripping. Rafa is exactly what the doctor ordered for Barcelona for that left-hand side. He's just exactly what the doctor ordered. When Barca were getting linked to Rafa, I was like, oh my god, thank God we're actually getting linked to this player, because this is exactly what we need. Now Barca, we're never gonna get him because over 100 million is crazy. Joan Laporta would have to sell his kidney for that to happen, and then obviously probably his dick too. You have to sell like multiple body parts to get the money for Rafa. So I never thought it was actually gonna happen, but I like that Barca are putting that out there into the universe. Like, put it out into the universe that you want Rafa, and eventually he will come. And we will all, as Barca fans, come, obviously, simultaneously as well if he ever signs for Barca, because this guy is just what Barca need. Nico Williams is a really good player. He's not on the level of Rafa. Rafa is a different beast, man. He's on a different tier than Nico Williams. And I think Nico's a really, really good player, but there's levels to this game. And Rafa is a level above Nico Williams. What he does on that left-hand side, every time I watch AC Milan, I'm in awe of this guy. He's so intelligent with the ball. He's so powerful. He's so direct. He's so fast, man. I love everything about Rafa. So for me, again, the best player here for me is Musiala, but it's close. But if I have to pick one for that left-hand side, it would 100% be Rafa, who if Barca can get him, it's going to be scary hours for every other team in Europe. I can promise you that. A dynasty will happen if Barca can get their hands on Rafa. You heard it here first. A dynasty will happen. So join Laporta and Deco, get your head out of your ass and get this guy to the Camp Nou next year. I don't care if you have to sell your penis and your kidney. Just do it, okay? It'll be worth it in the long run, I promise you. The next question we have here, what are your thoughts on Ronaldo comparing winning the Euros with Portugal to winning the pinnacle trophy in football, World Cup? I think it's really, really cute. Ever since Messi won the World Cup, Ronaldo's doing his best to try and downplay it and say that he doesn't care about the World Cup and all he cares about is the Euros. And that to me is silly because we all know that Ronaldo wants to win the World Cup. It's not a secret to anybody. And by the way, I'm not criticizing him for that. Everybody would want to win the World Cup, especially if you're the level of player that Ronaldo is and was. You want to win the World Cup because the greatest players of all time have won that trophy, and he's one of the few that hasn't. So again, him saying that the Euros is the same as the World Cup, he himself said that he wants to win the World Cup for Portugal. Now, winning the Euros for Portugal is amazing because that nation had never won a major trophy before. And Ronaldo, along with Eder and Pepe and all those guys, and Nani and Renato Sanchez, helped bring them their first major trophy. So that's obviously amazing. They will forever be in the history of that country for that. But winning the Euros and winning the World Cup is not comparable, bro. Like, the World Cup is the trophy in football. When you grow up as a kid, you want to win the World Cup. No one ever says, I dream of winning the Euros. You want to win the World Cup. Me as a kid, when I was growing up, I never, obviously I can't win the Euros because I'm not European, but if I was European, I would never say, oh, I'd rather win the Euros than the World Cup. Like when I was growing up, no one ever said, next goal wins the Euros. No, we always say, next goal wins the World Cup. You win the World Cup. So the World Cup is the trophy in football. It's what everybody plays for every 4 years. Everybody gears up for that tournament. The Euros is great. It's a very, very important tournament. It's a tournament that players take very, very seriously, but it's not the same saying I'm a Euro winner as to saying I'm a World Cup winner. Like when people talk about Mustafi, they still say he's a World Cup winner. No one gives a fuck, honestly, that Nani won the World Cup. Does that enhance his legacy at all? Now, Mustafi winning the World Cup doesn't enhance his legacy either. But you could say World Cup winner Mustafi. No one ever says Euros winner Nani. Or, I don't know, Euros winner Fabian Ruiz. Who gives a fuck, really? Everybody the World Cup is really what matters in football when it comes to the international stage. So, again, Ronaldo's doing his best to try and downplay because he's salty that Messi won the World Cup. But he should just, and no one's buying this shit. I mean, he should stop with the charade because it's not fooling anybody. The next question we have here, why are you constantly disrespecting an absolute legend in Lewandowski? Dude is a top 5 goal scorer of all time, and you slander him in every vid. Grow up. Well, clearly you have something going on at home that I don't know what's happening, but I hope it gets better. But in regards to your question, I've never disrespected Robert Lewandowski's career. If you've watched my videos, I've actually talked really, really highly of his career. I think he's the second greatest striker of this generation. I think he's him and Benzema is close, but I would give it to Lewandowski. I was about to call him Lewandowski. That's a cringy ass name. I would give it to Lewa because I think he had a little bit higher of a peak. So again, I think he's the second best striker of this generation. I've never disrespected his career. I think he's one of the best strikers I've ever seen and one of the best strikers in the history of this game. And when it comes to the UCL, apart from Messi, Ronaldo, and Benzema, he's in that next tier of guys who are like some of the best UCL players of all time. The reason why I talk so much shit about Lewandowski is I keep saying Lewandowski and Lewandowski like a mixture of both. Just say Lewa. The reason why I disrespect Lewandowski so much, or Lewa so much, especially last season and the season before, is because to me he's simply not good enough to play for Barca anymore. That's just my personal opinion. You can disagree with that. And that is the beauty of having a mouth and having fingers to type, that everybody can have their different opinion. They can voice it like I do, or you can type it like you do. And if you believe that Lewandowski is still a good player, then that's your opinion. And I believe that Lewandowski this season is doing better, but I still believe that Barca can do better in that position. Now, it could be proven wrong at the end of the season, that we'll see. But for the past 2 years, I've been right about Lewandowski. He was subpar last year. I don't care about the Pichichi Award, nearly winning it. I don't care about that. He was subpar. He was subpar after the World Cup when Barca won the league. He just simply was. So that's just my opinion. But again, when it comes to his career, I've never discredited or disrespected Lewandowski's career because I have a lot of respect for the legends of this game, and I would never dare talk down on a guy like Lewandowski's career because it obviously is amazing. A UCL winner, a treble winner, and one of the best goal scorers of all time. But when it comes to recently, I just don't think he's good enough. The next question we have here, what's your biggest football what-if scenario? What if Neymar stayed at Barca? What if Ronaldo didn't get injured in Euro 2016? What if Baggio never missed his pen? What if Romeo stayed at Barca and won his 9th Ballon d'Or? That's actually a really good one. My biggest football what-if. I've been asked that question quite a bit. I think for me, as a Barca fan, I gotta say, what if Dembele never missed that shot? That to me is the biggest what if ever, man. Another one for me is, what if Gavi's handball gets called against Atletico Madrid in 2016 and Barca get that penalty and they score that penalty and they go on to play against Bayern Munich in the semifinals? I believe that Barca team could have won the whole thing and we could have won back-to-back UCLs. There's so many what ifs, man, but to me the one is the Dembele one. What if Dembele scored that 4th goal at the Camp Nou? What if he would have scored that? I don't know. Do I think Barca would have won that game? Yeah. I think 4-0 is very different. Sorry, I had the burp. I think 4-0 is very different to 3-0. You have a bigger cushion. Now still, Liverpool scored 4 anyway, but I think Barca would have gone to that game maybe with a different mindset. Now knowing Barca in that time, and after Rakic's comments, they probably would have choked it anyway. But to me, I would say if Dembele scored that goal, it's just something that honestly keeps me up at night. I'm not even joking. It keeps me up at night sometimes. I have nightmares about it. How did he miss that shot? How did he miss that shot? So for me, I would say that one. But the ones you pointed out are really, really good. What if Neymar stayed at Barca? I mean, do Barca do better against Roma and against Liverpool? I think they do. You know, if Baggio doesn't miss that penalty, I mean, that's also a really good one. What if Ronaldo didn't get injured in Euro 2016? I mean, they probably lose that final, honestly, because he would have brought the team back. But anyway, I'm gonna piss off the Ronaldo fans. Anyway, but to me, like I said, my biggest football what if would be, what if Dembele never missed that shot against Liverpool in the first leg of the UCL in 2019? The next question we have: who do you see rivaling Lamine Yamal for Ballon d'Ors in the future? There's so many great talents in world football right now. And I think Lamine Yamal is going to win multiple Ballon d'Ors, but I don't think he's going to have a chokehold on the award like Messi and Ronaldo did. And I believe Lamine Yamal is going to be the best player in the world for 15 plus years, or like maybe 10 plus years, I should say, because 15 is a long time. Messi and Ronaldo kind of fucked up our perspective of how good players should be for how long. So again, I think 10 plus years, Lamine Yamal is going to be the best player in the world for that time. I think he's going to become the best player in the world very, very soon here in the next 5 years. But again, like I said, I don't see him winning 5 or 6 or 7 Ballon d'Ors or 8 like Messi did, because I don't think anybody's ever going to break Messi's record. I think he'll win over 3, but I don't think he'll ever win like 3 in a row or 2 in a row or 4 in a row. I think there'll be more spread out throughout his career, because again, like I said, I think football has so much talent right now. That is one thing about modern football. There's so much good young talent in the game. I mean, Vinicius Jr., you got to talk about him because he's still young and he's still obviously very, very, very good. To me, the best winger, one of the best players in the world. Kylian Mbappe, I mean, he's still going to be a football player for the next 10 or 12 years. So you obviously got to talk about him. You got to talk about Erling Haaland. You got to talk about Jude Bellingham. If you want to talk about younger players, you got to talk about Arda Güler, who I believe once he gets consistent playing time is going to show the world how good this guy really fucking is. Because every time I see him play for Turkey, I'm in awe of him. I think he's really, really good. I mean, he's amazing. You got to talk about Florian Wirtz, who had a great season for Leverkusen and it's continuing to grow and progress as a player. Jamal Musiala is fantastic. Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, Cole Palmer. If Chelsea ever get really, really good, I mean, all these guys you got to talk about. So for me, I would say if I had to pick one guy, it would probably be Vini, because Vini, I mean, he's older than but not really. Like he's not 12 years older than It's like 5 or it's actually no, it's like 7 years or 6 years. But again, I think that Vini's going to be in football for around the same period as Lamine Yamal. And I think when you have that guy and he's playing for Real Madrid and he's winning all these trophies, and also Bellingham, you got to look at the Madrid players because Madrid always win trophies. So you got to look at one of those guys: Bellingham, Mbappe, Vini, Arda Güler. And I think if you can, I think those are the guys that we're going to see compete with Lamine Yamal the most for the Ballon d'Or. The next question we have here: who's the most underrated player of all time in your opinion? That is a great question, bro. There's so many great players. This is a topic that I could talk about for hours, because I can think of so many great players off the top of my head that are so underrated and don't get the credit that they deserve when it comes to talking about football. And people don't really ever bring them up. So I'll give you a couple names. Santi Cazorla to me is a guy who was so good for so long. Injuries kind of derailed his career a little bit, but he was so good at Arsenal. This guy was getting consistent playing time for Spain in that midfield with peak Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets. That should tell you how good he was. I look at a guy like Javier Mascherano, who obviously played for Barca, who's near and dear to my heart, who was just fantastic. I mean, for Liverpool, he was amazing. For Barca, so versatile, such a good player, man. I mean, this guy, he never really had the flash or any of that, but when you watch him play, he just did everything really, really well. You look at a guy like Mario Mandzukic, who I believe is one of the most underrated strikers of all time. I mean, this is a guy who scored in multiple UCL finals, who won a treble, who scored one of the best goals in the history of a UCL final, who scored in a World Cup final, who scored in a World Cup semifinal, who was consistently great in scoring goals for so many big teams in Europe for so long. I mean, you got to talk about Mario Mandzukic, and I feel like people rarely ever talk about him. Edin Dzeko, that Aguero moment doesn't happen if it wasn't for Edin Dzeko. That Aguero moment does not happen. Okay? He's the one that plays that pass, I'm pretty sure. Or he's involved in I forget, but he's involved in that goal somehow. This guy was scoring. He was top 5 in Serie A scoring at like in his mid-30s, bro. He was a goal-scoring machine for so long. You know? Moussa Dembele, when he played for Spurs, the Spurs player. I mean, when I watched him play, I thought this guy was a fucking tank on the pitch. So he could carry the ball forward, and he was so physical and so strong. You could barely ever get the ball off him, bro. He moved like a 10, but he had the body of a center back. It was insane watching Moussa Dembele play. You know, Jamie Vardy's a guy who, you know, won a Golden Boot, who won a Premier League. He's one of the best strikers in the history of the Prem. You know, I think he's in that conversation as well. There's so many players that I can think about. Am I missing anybody else? Fernando Torres was so good for Liverpool, bro, but obviously his career kind of went downhill when he left Liverpool, but he was so good for Liverpool, man, for so long, and I just love watching him play. I don't think people quite understand how good he was for Liverpool. A guy who scored the winner in the Euro in 08. Who else can I think about? Angel Di Maria, a guy who people barely ever talk about. I know people actually do talk about Di Maria a lot, but I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves because he was so good. A guy who I believe, actually, I'll give you one answer for one guy. David Villa to me, I'll actually answer this question. David Villa to me is the most underrated player of all time. I believe it's David Villa. David Villa was a guy who was pivotal for that Barca team in 2010-2011, was one of our best players, scored in a UCL final, and was probably the best player at the World Cup for Spain when they won the whole thing in 2010. And a guy who was amazing for Valencia before he ever made his move to Barcelona, who went to Atletico Madrid after leaving Barcelona and won a league title and made a UCL final, was fantastic for them. He went to the MLS, and I'm pretty sure he won MVP of the MLS. I could be wrong when I say that, but he was really, really good in the MLS as well. So for me, all those guys that I just mentioned, I could talk about this topic for hours because there's so many underrated ballers in the history of football, but the ones that I named are some of my favorite ones. And you guys can let me know some more in the comment section down below. The next question, thoughts on Big Man Holland? I think Erling Haaland is a fucking phenom, bro. I really believe Erling Haaland is a phenom, one of the best strikers I've ever seen already. I'm not even being hyperbolic when I say that. Erling Haaland, if his career continues this way, he'll be the greatest striker the game has ever seen. He'll be the greatest striker the game has ever seen. People don't like watching him play. He's boring. When he was competing for the Ballon d'Or with Messi, I was shit-talking his game, but I wasn't doing it happily, bro, because I love watching Erling Haaland play. I think he's so good. I think he's underrated somehow. I honestly think Erling Haaland's underrated. The guy is a fucking tank, bro. His movement, man. If this guy played for a transition team, oh my God, bro. This guy, when he gets a full head of steam and he's on that counterattack, he's unstoppable, bro. When he's in front of goal, he's as good a finisher as any in world football right now. That guy barely whiffs in front of goal. Ever. He's so physical. He's so good in the air. He's so good at everything, bro. He's such a great player. He's such a great player. He's a guy that I dream of seeing at Barcelona. If you ask me one Barcelona dream signing, Erling Haaland. I would love to see him wear Barca colors one day and compete with Kylian Mbappe while he's at Madrid. That is my dream because I think Erling Haaland is that good. And Man City have a gem on their hands with that guy. And I think he's going to probably win. I think my pick for the Ballon d'Or for this next season is going to be Erling Haaland. I think Man City are going to have a really, really good year. Haaland's going to break his own record in the Premier League of what he said the 2 years back when he obviously his first season, he's going to score the most goals in Premier League history in one season in the Premier League. And he's going to win the Ballon d'Or this season. I really believe that. That's how good I think Erling Haaland is. So I'm a big fan of Haaland if you couldn't tell. The next question we have, who is currently the best winger in the world and who's going to become the next best winger in the world? The best winger in the world right now is Vinicius Jr. and that is not a debate. Okay, you guys know I'm a Barca fan, but I'm not afraid to give rival players credit. I've done it multiple times already in this video. Vinicius Jr. to me is the best winger in the world. There's no debate about that. He hasn't had the best start to the season, but I don't think he's been that bad. And what he did last year, what he continues to do every single season is nothing short of remarkable. So for me, the best winger right now, it's no debate. It's Vinicius Jr. Who's going to become the next best winger in the world? That answer is pretty obvious as well. It's going to be Janmaat because he's already one of the best wingers in the world and he's only 17 years old. So right now it's Vinicius Jr., but for the future, it's going to be Janmaat. And I think we all know that's pretty. I mean, that was a pretty easy question to answer. The next question we have here is a really good one. If you could go back in time, which 3 UCL campaigns would you change for Barcelona? That is a fantastic question, bro. And I have the answer right now. I didn't even have to think about this one. I knew it as soon as I read the question. Number 1 is 2010. The year after winning the treble in Rome, obviously the second season with Pep, Barca lose to Inter. And that to me was a heartbreaker. I remember being a kid, watching that game after coming home from school, and I was pissed. After the 3-1 in Milan, I thought Barca could obviously come back because I believed in that team. And, you know, when we had the second leg at the Camp Nou, and I was like, Barca are going to win this game. You know, Barca are going to pull it through and they're going to win this game. And when Piqué scored that goal, I was like, oh my God, Barca are actually going to do it. They just need one more goal and they're going through to the final. And they can win the final, the UCL final in the Santiago Bernabeu. Talk about bragging rights, right? Winning the biggest trophy in European football and club European football again in your biggest rival stadium. That would have been amazing. But obviously, Jose Mourinho happened and he's doing laps around the Camp Nou. So that's the first one I would change, 2009, 2010. The second one I would change is 2015, 2016. I've talked about that season multiple times, but to me, that Barca team was better than the treble-winning year the year before. That Messi season was crazy. He was injured, but when he played, he was fucking fantastic. Suarez had the best season of his career, in my opinion. Neymar was a phenom. The team was just fantastic, bro. And I think if Barca, if they could have gone past Atletico Madrid, I think they would have won the whole thing. So for me, that's the second one, 2015, 2016. And the final one would have to be, honestly, I was going to say 2018, 2019, but to make it different, actually, I'm going to say a different answer. I'm going to say 23, 24, last season. I think Barca had a chance to win the UCL last season. And even if they didn't have a chance to win it, even if you want to say Madrid would have won it anyway, to have an El Clásico final at Wembley would have been fantastic, bro. I just wish I could go back in time and I wish Araujo doesn't get that red card. That's the one thing that I wish. I wish Araujo didn't get that red card and Barca could have played Dortmund in the semifinal because I think they would have beaten Dortmund in the semifinal. And after that, it's a final against Madrid and Wembley. So again, my actual answer would have been 2018, 2019 because we all know how shitty that season was and how much we wish we could go back in time and change it. But for the sake of changing the answer, not talking about 2018, 2019 again because I've done it multiple times already in this channel, I'd say this past season because I really believe Barca had a chance to win it if Araujo doesn't get sent off. The next question we have here, by the time Hansi Flick is done managing Barca, do you think his time will be as good or better than Pep Guardiola's was? Man, am I drinking the Flickinator juice already too much, bro? Look, I'm not going to be stupid here. I don't think it's going to be as good because I think Pep Guardiola what he did for Barca, I mean, he had the greatest 4-year run in the history of football, in my opinion. And again, I know Madrid won 3 straight UCLs with Zidane, and I know this team and that team won a bunch of trophies, and Bayern Munich in the 70s won 3 straight UCLs, and Ajax won 3 straight UCLs, or European Cups, I should say. So there's been teams that won more than Barca. But when you look at Pep Guardiola in those 4 years of Barcelona, it was the most beautiful football that's ever been played. It was the most dominant football that's ever been played. I mean, that team was just, and you can listen to the rival teams talk about it. It was just scary. Listen to Sami Khedira talk about that Barca team. Listen to Paul Scholes and Rio Ferdinand and all those guys that played for the United teams that lost in Rome and in Wembley. Very few teams are talked about like that, if any. No team is talked about like Barca under Pep Guardiola. There's an aura about that team. There's just an aura about him that other teams just don't have. No other team has. So again, if Hansi Flick can do that, then oh my God, that'd be insane. But for me to say that anybody's going to be as good a coach as Pep was at Barca, that's a very tall mountain to climb. And I don't think Hansi Flick is ready for that, because again, you got to remember also, Hansi Flick doesn't have the squad that Pep had. When Pep became the Barca manager after coming up from Barca B, he had a really, really good squad. A squad that had made the semifinal, the year before he took over. You had not a prime Henry, but a really, really good Henry. You had Eto'o in his prime. You had Messi entering his prime. You had Busquets, who you call up from Barca B, who was, amazing. You had Iniesta and Xavi in their prime. You had a young Puyol, not a young Puyol, but a prime Puyol and a young and really, really good Piqué. You had a prime Dani Alves. You had a prime Erika Vidal. Flick has good players, but he doesn't have that. So again, for me, I would say that Hansi Flick, he's going to be one of the, I think he's on course right now through 4 games. I know it's crazy, through 4 games. He's on pace to be one of the best Barca managers ever. But to say that he's going to be Pep is tough. The next question we have here, other than the seasons where Barca wins the UCL, what is your favorite Barca season? My favorite Barca season, other than the UCL winning season, so other than 09, 2011, and 2015, 2018, 2019 for me. We got to talk about that season one more time. And it's mostly because of Messi and what he did. I think I was so in awe of watching that man play that year, that it was just insane to watching Messi do what he did and just his dominance. I think I enjoyed that so much because I just realized we have the best player of all time. Like we have, Barca may not be, we may not have the best squad, and we didn't have the best squad at the time, obviously, but with this guy, we can do it all. I didn't obviously miss a whole Barca game that season, and I think if I would have missed the Barca game, I would have cried, because that's how in awe I was of watching Messi, because I just remember every time Barca were playing, I was like, I have to watch, not just because it's Barca, but I have to see what this fucking monster does. So for me, I would say 2018, 2019, not because of the Barca team, but mostly because of how good Messi was. A couple more here before we finish off the video. If you could pick one flop from Nasia, but the one you pick never flops and becomes what everybody thought they would be, who would it be? That's a really, really good question. Nasia has produced a lot of players who I thought were going to be really, really good and I was hyped about, but ended up flopping. Isaac Cuenca is one of them, a guy who played for Barca in the UCL semifinal against Chelsea when David Villa was hurt. I thought he was going to be really, really good. Jonathan Dos Santos, Martin Montoya, Jeffrey, a guy who was actually born in Venezuela, funny enough. Bojan. There's a lot of guys, but to me, it's a guy that we've already talked about in this video, and that's going to be Ansu Fati. If I could go back in time, I would just save Ansu Fati's career, because that guy had so much potential and so much hype. But when I watched him play, I was like, this kid is next step. And to see the way that his career played out, I wish I could go back in time and just make sure he never got injured. That would be, to me, the answer. I would say it's Ansu Fati, because I think if Ansu Fati never got hurt, we could be talking about him being the best player in the world right now. That's how talented I think he was. So for me, I would say it would be Ansu Fati, honestly. And the final question we have, why are the necklines on your shirts cut? This one has that too. I do that with every shirt, if you guys notice in the videos. You guys always notice, and you guys always ask me that. I'm really particular about things around my neck, bro. I don't like it. So when there's like a neckline, I feel claustrophobic, bro. It tightens up my neck, and I don't like that at all. I feel trapped. So I have to cut them off. I have to let it be loose. And I do that with all my shirts. All my shirts. If I get a shirt and it has if it doesn't have like a tight neckline, I won't cut it off. But if it has a really tight neckline, I will cut it off every single time. Every single time. It might ruin the shirt. I don't give a fuck. I don't care how expensive the shirt is. I'm cutting the neckline. If it's too tight, if it's too thick, I'm cutting it, because I don't like that at all. It makes me feel so claustrophobic. It makes me feel like I'm getting trapped. I'm getting choked, and I don't like that. Maybe it's a kink. Maybe it's a kink that I'm not into. I'm not into the whole choking kink. It's not my thing. Maybe other people are into that. But if a shirt is choking me, it's a no for me, man. So that's why I cut the necklines on my shirts. And that, guys, is the end of the video. I appreciate you guys so much for watching, man. I love every single one of you. Thank you to everybody who submitted their question. It means so much to me. And yeah, man, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.